This is Gensh with Infernal's development log number 5. The topic this time is, what place do the Infernals have in the setting? And the answer to that is, they really don't have one. And that's really the source of the problem with Infernal stepping on everybody's toes throughout, the entirety of last edition. Even putting aside the meta plot, they just don't have a place in the setting, and so they have to make one by, kicking everyone else around. So as it stands, the places that the Yozis can reach into the setting are, well, there's the Lintha family, which, if you're playing a game in the West or the Southwest, that's great. You've got these crazy cannibal pirate incest. It's like Kentucky. Which is totally okay for me to say because I live in Tennessee and we're just as inbred. And the Lintha family is great because now you've got these rednecks riding on giant squids, and it's pretty. I mean, okay, yeah, some people might not like it, but it's awesome enough that you're not going to have that many people complaining about it. Because I mean, how frequently do you get to play with a redneck mafia? But on the other hand, you don't really have any other options if you're playing in the South and West. Okay, wow, we've got the Lintha, and if you're playing specifically in Ontang, then you can deal with the Seven-Stranded Vine, which is a cult of Swillen who want to restore the rightful rulers of Ontang, but that's a really niche cult, honestly. And that's the best way to get in contact with Swillen from, the creation side of things, which is really bad because of how niche it is. You'd think that you'd be able to get in contact with the Yozi of, Order, by doing something in the realm, or I don't know. The fact that her influence in creation has been reduced to just this one cult for this one purpose in this one geographic location, really speaks to how well bound the Yozis are. And, I mean, the only other cult I know off the top of my head is Sondok's assassin cult. And you know what? That's also in the South. So, 3/5 of the map doesn't have a really significant Yozi presence. Although, okay, there's going to be lots of demons running around in the scavenger lands where they've just been left bound guarding something. But, that's just it. The major source of Yozi, I don't know if you want to call it infection, would be just from sorcerers binding demons, and that's it. You're gonna have your dragon-blooded sorcerers summoning first circle demons. That's not really useful unless you're going around stealing other people's summoned demons, and that might be a cool thing to have for one story, but you can't really use that for every story. And you've got the Lunars, who can summon second circle demons, and, you've got the lunar problem then. So it falls to, where am I supposed to get in contact with demons? What effect do demons have on the setting? And they really don't. When Nimon is one of the main sources of demons, there is kind of a problem because it's not like anyone actually wants to hang out with Nimon, and if everyone's hanging out with Nimon, then something's gone a little strange. So, that's it. Infernals don't have a place in the setting because the Yozis don't have a place in the setting. The third circle demons don't have a place in the setting, and the second circle demons barely have a place in the setting. But frankly, you're probably better off waiting for Gervison to get out on his own than, going and searching for someone. You might want to try to figure out the release conditions for a certain demon. I know that in my year-long campaign, one of the Abyssals had managed to codify a method by which you could easily summon Ligear, and Ligear just kind of hung out with the party. Like he didn't do anything. He made them bacon. Um, it obviously wasn't a very serious campaign, but you know that was the only way that demons could show up aside from there being like, okay, there's specifically this summoner character, and an abyssal with void circle necromancer can summon second circle demons. Oh wow, I already said that second circle demons can get out fairly easily. That's not really something uh, that you should use as your main method of introduction for an entire type of exalted. So, the question becomes, how do I introduce infernals if they don't have a place in the setting? And options are kind of limited. You might have it where sorcerers are accidentally summoning infernals, and then the infernals just they pretend to be a demon, and they do whatever the sorcerer wants, and then they kill the sorcerer, and then they go around pretending to be the sorcerer or something. But that's another rather niche plot. You can't keep doing that plot. And so even though I myself had said that, the no matter how stupid it was, the secrecy of last edition, where no one knows about the Infernals, even though they've been hanging around for, how a year, 5 years, however long, and it's fine if we use my concept of territory in order to keep them from actually technically being part of creation, and then that keeps them hidden from the sidereals. Okay, yeah, that's fine, but that's rather makeshift. We know they're here. What are they doing? Because they don't have Death Lords who have long established power bases, and there's no real entry point. Abyssals say, okay, well, I'm playing this character. What Death Lord do I want to serve? And then there's like 7 or 8 canon options. I'm not going to count them now. And then you've got, options for the storyteller to fill in whatever sort of Death Lord that the players might want to work for. You don't have that with Infernals because, like I said, at best you might have a second circle demon who got out by accident, and then they're probably going to do something stupid that'll get them banished rather quickly. And like, even if they don't deliberately do something stupid, Gervison is this giant glowing lance. He's not exactly subtle. Yeah, you might have like Alvea, or however you pronounce her name, hanging out, and she might be able to stick around indefinitely because she's, a back row. She smiths people, but doesn't really get up in anyone's face. So, you might have the more subtle demons hanging around, but, that's just, you can't rely on that. There needs to be a distinctive way that Infernos can influence the setting, and thus far that's been by, just wagging around, trampling over everybody else, invoking meta plot, and I think there's not really as much a problem with that as other people would say, simply because, I can't influence how Yozis and how demons are going to affect the setting in 3rd edition, and if I ultimately don't have anything to work with, well, I'm going to have to go back to that Infernals are breaking in, they're busting up the status quo, because that's essentially what Solars do. And even though Infernals have a stronger base, they have more gear, they have better mentors than Solars, they're still not quite so well off as the Abyssals, and you know what? We'll take the middle ground here. They've got a good firm base in Hell, like the Abyssals have a good firm base in the Underworld, but in Creation, they're just as on their own as the Solars are. So, even though I'm saying, okay, day 1, you are a primordial exalt, you have this grand destiny unfolding before you, you will reshape the cosmos, but for now, you're probably going to have to work for this dragon-blooded guy and pretend to be, a Solar, or pretend to be a demon, and listen to what they have to say for now, and then, of course, you're going to backstab them because backstabbing is probably going to be one of the main infernal things. just because, oh, well, the Yozis were betrayed, and then the first age solars were betrayed, and so betrayal is rather at the forefront of the infernal mind, especially since their exaltation conditions. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily keep the exaltation conditions as failure. Failure is really great, but it can be a bit broader, I think, and rather than being all infernals being failures, I think it works better if maybe all infernals are victims of something, Maybe it is their fault, maybe it's not their fault, and they're just raging against the heavens. And that's not really a failure. You can have slightly more upbeat infernals that way, but, overall, in creation, an infernal is essentially the same as a solar. They don't have anyone else to rely on, and while they do have like their own bubble of Yosi space that they can control, they're still starting out at nothing. A solar has to build his kingdom, an infernal has to, warp reality until he has a kingdom. The methodology is different, but the end result is basically the same, although you're going to have way more tentacles in an infernal kingdom.